With me, I have Jürgen Madsen Lindemann, CEO of MTG. Jürgen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you at home or wherever you are sitting, and thank you very much for taking the time to listen to what we have to say today. Allow me to just start a little bit with MTG. For those of you who is not that familiar with the company, it is a Swedish-listed company. We have been on the stock exchange since '97. We have been owned by Kinnevik, or majority by Kinnevik, until 2018, where they spun their part of MTG to their shareholders. And we are a company which throughout the years have capitalized on different consumer trends and also technical trends, and therefore actually have transformed the company the last, almost you can say, 33 years, where we actually launched the company back in '87, as most of you will know. 2019, we split the company. We took our Nordic division and listed that separately, called NENT today. And then we focused on the equity story, which is around this new entertainment, which is called games. A very fast-growing part of the entertainment world, growing faster actually than most of the other areas. And obviously we invested very early when we saw that most of the consumer that we had in our traditional businesses actually decided to move into this space. So instead of watching TV or our traditional product, people actually started to play more games, or also actually to watch esport. So we have invested in that space. It is very important for us, compared to many of our peers, that we are constantly deploying money where we see that where we see the biggest return, and also then where we see that the biggest interest is for entertainment products. We have set up MTG as what we call a strategic holdco. What we have done in the past is that we have acquired businesses together with management, then we built a lot of value in the businesses. There's a buy and build strategy, and that is the same thing that we are applying here in MTG as well. So we are going out together with founders, investing into areas which we also understand, and also understand where we can make a big difference. And that is actually in the gaming part, and also then in the esport part, which I will come back to later. The investments we have made is, as I said earlier, the esport part. And esport is simply just like any other sport. The value drivers in esport is the same as you would know for Swedish football or hockey or whatever. It is sponsorship, which is quite important. It is media rights, or you're selling your content. It is content creation. It is also event marketing, so you're selling tickets, city contribution, and so forth. So we are hosting big global events, just like we did in the old days when we were hosting whatever Champions League or other interesting sport like Ice Hockey World Championship. So we are very familiar with the value drivers of this sport, and that is just to make it very simple, that you have people competing in games instead of competing in basket or in hockey. So that is our rationale to invest, because we felt that we could make a big difference, and which we have done in this area. The other part is gaming. Very interesting. We see more people are playing games, and we also see they play more, and luckily we see that they pay more as well. You know, just 5-10 years ago, when you were flying around the world, you were seeing people watching, reading newspapers, and nowadays you see them play games. So the storytelling part, and again with our heritage about having a lot of content created studios, of course we are very interesting, a good owner for many entrepreneurs out there who would like to find a strategic partner who can help them creating new interesting games. And there we have invested in German games, a studio called InnoGames. It's a very strong gaming entrepreneur that we invested in. We own 51%. Give you more granularity about, be more granular about the company later in the presentation. And then quite interesting for us as well is that we have invested in a range of young companies through our VC fund. That is to learn. There's many different revenue models inside games. That is everything from sponsorship, where you actually, instead of winning diamonds, whatever, you are winning Nike sneakers. So there's many new opportunities which we want to learn in order to understand the trends in the businesses. And the same goes for the esport part, where we also have invested into a company called Bitcraft, which actually serve as a radar for us to make sure that we don't miss any opportunity out there. And there's a lot of new companies investing into different genres inside esport, and I want to know what we should roll up in order to be even more competitive. If we go to the esport part, and the reason for us investing into esport is, of course, that we have a sport which already has the audience. That's quite unique, to be fair. It is not the fact that we have to create a new sport, find the audience, and afterwards we have to go out and find sponsors and media partners to capitalize on those eyeballs. The audience is there. The audience is super under-monetized, as you can see on this chart. If you look to the left, you can see the small red dots, and that is actually the viewing. How many audience do you have in the sport? And you can see the bars, which are a little bit depressing, but the opportunity, how you're monetizing on those eyeballs versus your peers, which is then, I've taken the example of big American sports leagues. So obviously when my son, to make a concrete example, is watching the Champions League, you pay full amount for him because it is measured, there is a currency, and when he starts to watch Fortnite or Counter-Strike, then you're only paying a fraction for him as the same sponsor as you would do when you measured him when he was watching the Champions League. So of course the upside for us is that we are professionalizing this whole industry. The revenue streams of this industry is what we are doing, and also of course the assumptions to create strong advertising products, strong advertising proposition or media proposition is something that we are working on as well, and I will show you that as well. But as I said, the beauty is here that you have a sport which is already monster big compared to other sport, but very much under-monetized. The companies who's going to execute that strategy for us, or the path, is two big companies we have right now. We hope, of course, to onboard more. One of them being a Swedish company called DreamHack. They have been around for quite some time, and they organize what we call LAN festivals. So people are bringing their hardware into the arenas. You should witness this one. It is absolutely amazing to see. And then they party there and play with their friends for the whole weekend. So it's quite a very strong proposition, and the brand resonates extremely well among the communities, and it's a global gig. So they are doing Sweden, US, Brazil, whatever, Southeast Asia and so forth. So there's much more ammunition in vitamins in DreamHack, and something we are understanding now how to roll up even faster. And then we have also the ESL part, which is more competitive part. So there you have the Champions Leagues of the world. And if you look at what we do with those companies, we are actually catering for everything. We call it zero to hero, where you have the more friendly, the more, as I said earlier, the DreamHack festivals, the ESL Open, which is the B2C matchmaking, where you play against people from other parts of the world. You have the more competitive parts of the esport genre, which is everything from Counter-Strike to also Allsvenskan in Sweden, or NHL or European Tour and Golf or whatever, where you're playing on a national league. And then up here we have what we call the master tournaments, which are the Wimbledons of the world. You have a full crowd, 15,000 people in Cologne, which is then called the cathedral of Counter-Strike. So this is actually a sport which is there, the audience is there, and the whole idea for us is, of course, to make sure that we can monetize on those eyeballs and professionalize these eyeballs. Because if you look at what has left the traditional media, it is, of course, the young eyeballs. So people are not watching linear TV to the same extent they did, particularly not the young ones, or pay TV or whatever. They are actually watching more games now, or they're playing games. So you can see that the age group 16 to 44, we have 88% of those represented in our products. And that is, of course, super important for our partners, our sponsors, because that is exactly the target group they cannot get today through other media. So also we saw a quite interesting opportunity now when, unfortunately, some of the other traditional sports has to close down during the COVID, or due to the COVID pandemic. We saw them coming in, the sponsors, and start to interact with us now for the first time as well. Remember, it's a young sport, how they could capitalize on the audiences that we could deliver, because we were live, we were online. We have professionalized the industry. That is an ongoing process. That also means that we need to make sure it is structured in a way so our partners can invest into the products that we are having. In the old days, the tournament was a little bit more ad hoc. You know, in Allsvenskan or in Elitserien in Sweden, you know exactly when when the tournament takes place. That also goes for our structure now. So we have our ESL Pro Tour. We know exactly the dates. We know which parts of the world that we are going to play in. And then also what we have done here as well is that we have made, similar to the Formula 1 Concord agreement, where you have an agreement between the teams, we have onboarded the best teams in the world. Top 10, 13 teams in the world are with our tournaments and are getting remunerated as well, the more successful that the tournaments are. That is what we call the Louvre agreement, because the deal was then made not in a Concord but in Paris. We also make sure that we can articulate the currency. Obviously, we need to get the eyeballs payment for the eyeballs from this index 15 up to index 100, and that you do by documenting that you have as attractive eyeballs, which I just showed you we have, and we have that, we can document that towards the partners or towards the media agencies. So that is a journey we have onboarded with Nielsen. Again, something we have done the last, 30 years, where we are having, of course, measurement on our viewership in the old days. Now we're just having measurement, or initiated that, on our viewership when it comes to our esport products. So you see, the big sponsors are the same as you see in traditional sport. The opportunity for us is, of course, that we have a sport which is growing. We have the brands already there, and they are not paying the dollar that they should so far, because we have not been able to articulate the value of the product. That is what we do with Nielsen right now, and that is also what we do by putting the whole tournament structures into system, just like these guys have been doing for many, many years. So obviously we are very excited about this opportunity, and as I said earlier, this is very close to our heart. This is something we have done our whole life. I myself have been running and producing sport, so we are very familiar with what is going on in our universe. Then we move on to the other interesting part of the business. It's a sizable part. It's a 2.5 billion revenue business and a 600 million SEK EBITDA business as well. So it's quite big, I must say. The gaming vertical, very relevant. We have invested in two very strong companies. We have invested in InnoGames, which is a 51% partnership. We do like the model as well, that we have the entrepreneur staying on board, and we together, as I said earlier, with the entrepreneur can build her or his company even stronger. And then we also managed to invest in a very interesting global publisher called Kongregate, which have had a transformation of the company in 2019 to focus more on early stage studios and roll-ups of studios, which we then can promote, and we can support with marketing and others in order to grow that company. Like in other content, there's different genres. Like in movies, there are genres. You also have different genres in games. Where we see InnoGames being extremely strong is in City Builder and also in the MMO genre. And you can see as well that the COVID has done fairly good for InnoGames, to be fair, because obviously more people have time to play now, and that of course have had a positive impact on what we call our daily average users, which have propelled quite a lot, to be fair. That is of course interesting for us to understand. Will that stick also after hopefully this pandemic will settle a bit? What we have seen so far is that the marketing investments we are making are very good, so we get a lot of new customers in. We have very good return on the ad dollar spent. But even more importantly, we have a lot of new, old players coming back into the game. And obviously, since they played, we have created a lot of new content. So of course, we do hope and expect that the stickiness with them will be a little bit better. Of course, we are very happy to see that development. And the same goes, as I mentioned as well, with the esport part. More people are watching esport, our products goes out to more people. And the same then is the case with the gaming part. Big games, the Forge of Empire already now, we're still in the growth phase, has delivered lifetime value of 550 million euro. So of course, very excited about that. And also excited about the new games that the studios is about to test and launch. And hopefully we will see some of those being as successful as some of the other games. There's a long tail as well on these games, so when the games start to decline, you take away the marketing money, but you will still see that people are actually activating in the game the faithful players, and that is why you have very high margin on these games as well. So there's quite a long tail as well. InnoGames, Kongregate as well, as I said, we are operating in what we call the idle genre, the idle casual genre or RPG genre. If you look at the casual genre, we have fairly strong market share right now, so that is of course something we want to invest more into, but predominantly first-party studios, where we can get the smaller studios in, we can help them with user acquisition, help build new games, they can leverage on all the headquarters set up that we are having, and then together with founders build value. So for us, super interesting space, to be fair. It is space which we have navigated in the traditional world for many years, the same value drivers we see in this new space, and over the years now we have created quite an interesting proposition, very strong, the world biggest actually when it comes to the esport part, and a very strong and relevant position when it comes to the gaming part. And in these fast-growing entertainment product areas, of course, we are super excited about the future as well. So I think this concludes the presentation that I had to you. Obviously, reach out to us if there's more you want to discuss. We also have on mtg.com, of course, more information as well. Thank you.
So now we'll continue with some questions. And my first question is that I've seen that the streaming of Counter-Strike on Twitch increased over 280% in April, 24% and 24% in May. And how do you plan to capitalize on these numbers?
Yeah, these numbers are very important, of course, because these are the numbers we immediately are showing to our brand partners, so the brand partners can see that we actually have quite a strong effect and return by them investing with us. So that is one way of capitalizing. We have seen as well that some of our partners, actually also not only the Twitch partners, but also the linear partners, have seen their best days. We had a linear broadcaster had their best day ever in 20 years because of the Counter-Strike product. So obviously, the more we get those events out, the more viewing we have, the bigger reach we are having, the more commercial attractive product we are delivering. So that is, of course, over years now, is what we can demonstrate. So we have been lucky as well that should be that sometimes that actually the COVID has had a positive impact on our business when it comes to the viewing part. Obviously, we are hampered with the fact that we cannot host our monster event where we can, have these big brand partnerships, activations, and so forth. So everything, luckily, then can be done online, which is also different from traditional sport. Unfortunately, they couldn't, but we have been able to move a lot of our products online, and that has then catered to, higher viewing, higher reach, which commercially should give us a good position going forward.
Okay, so basically you spread the sports, and then when you can start having events again, it will be easier to basically sell tickets.
Yeah, also and
capitalize
also,
on the
exactly,
viewers.
yes.
And a follow-up question there: if you look at esports, how much would you say is live tickets to events in terms of revenue?
Yeah, the main revenue driver in esports still is brand partnership. So that is the biggest portion of the revenue coming in. And over time, you will see media, which is the second largest right now, you will see that propel, of course, going up. The more interesting we can show to our partners than the product is, of course, the more partners you can onboard. And as you mentioned, Twitch, it's a new partnership we have with them. It's not just a normal partnership where they're buying a year or whatever to distribute our content. It is a more integrated partnership as well, which you, of course, can build as well.
Okay, and my next question is related to the gaming vertical. We have discussed the trend in daily active users, but how about the ARPU, or average revenue per daily active user?
Yeah, but that is increasing as well. As I said, they luckily play more and they pay more, so that is good, and that hopefully also should support the fact that we get more customers into the space, that we can turn them into paying customers as well. So to begin with, you get a range of customers in, they try out the games, and then over time you will be able to activate them to become a paying user as well through in-game purchases and so forth. So that is both ARPDAU increasing and also then the daily average user.
And I guess as we saw on the slide on InnoGames, you have quite long lifetime of your game. So once you start, you continue for a long time, I guess. Yeah,
that is the positive about that game genre. There's a longer lifetime value. When you go to the casual games, it is shorter lifetime value of those games because you mainly are shifting between the games. There's easy to consume, they're easy to play, and then you start a new game. Where InnoGames, the city builder games or the strategy games are, you're getting more into it, and we have, customers from many years back who are still super activated, have built an enormous interesting universe inside the game.
So, and that was my question, and I would like to thank you for coming here, and I would like to thank the audience for watching. Thank you all.
Thank you.